Leaders from the world's 20 richest countries are making their way to Rome to kick off G20 talks that will have a particular focus on climate change. The group is expected to commit to taking urgent steps to curb global warming. The draft agreement says members will commit to carbon neutrality, but the date is yet to be agreed upon. The G20 countries account for 80% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. Well, let's bring in our correspondent in Rome, Marina Strauss. Marina, the Italian capital is gearing up for the two-day summit. Paint the picture for us, particularly on security there.
Oh, we just heard a shot here. Oh, OK, it's just some gas, OK. Yeah, so Italians are still traumatized because of the escalation at the G8 summit 20 years ago in Genoa. One person died, and I still vividly remember the pictures of the escalation of the G20 summit in Hamburg 4 years ago. And these escalations are something authorities in Italy want to prevent, so they stepped up security. There are more than 6,000 police officers and also army soldiers deployed here in Rome. Border controls have been reintroduced. You see sometimes helicopters circulating in the sky. So, security measures are definitely up to avoid escalation here in the eternal city of Rome.
Marina, what are their demands? What are the protesters there to achieve? I'll try one more time, Marina. I hope you can hear me. I'm asking, what are their demands, the protesters, and what are they there in Rome to achieve?
Their main goal, of course, is climate action. They want G20 leaders to finally take climate action. They're singing here, shouting here. The atmosphere is peaceful, but people are also angry, of course. They say, we are the future and you are destroying the future, so we have to conquer the present. I talked to one of the leaders of the protests, Giorgio. He's 18 years old, a student, and he said, we want leaders to step up climate action, to finally do something so our future is not like a complete catastrophe.
Marina, they're just about on the march there behind you. Having spoken to one of the leaders, do you get the sense of how organised they are? Are we talking about one group here, or do police have to get ready for multiple spot fires?
Sorry, it's really loud here, so I couldn't understand your question. But what I can tell you is that it gets really full here. It's mainly young people, 14 till 18 years old, and it's mainly students for now. But we'll see what happens in the coming hours. I will keep you updated.
Marina Strauss covering the G20 summit for us in Rome, and the protests are just kicking off. Many thanks. Now, as G20 leaders get to work discussing what they can do to fight climate change, we head to part of the world severely affected by drought, Kenya, where parts of the north haven't seen rain for a year. Failing crops are increasing food insecurity, and the UN says more than 2 million people are at risk of starvation. Children are among the most vulnerable. DW's Mariel Müller has this report, which contains distressing pictures.
These mothers have walked for hours to reach this health facility. They want to have their babies checked.
Some of these babies are severely malnourished, and their mothers who are breastfeeding them haven't been able to eat properly in weeks. Now they're being registered here at this health facility, and they hope to receive nutrition supplements.
One of them is Adikeno. His upper arm circumference shows that he is severely malnourished. His mother has only eaten maize meal for weeks now, so her breast milk doesn't have enough nutrients for her baby.
It gives me great pain. My baby is 2.5 years old and he's too weak to stand up.
Health worker Gracie Lamo has seen a stream of undernourished children here in the past months. And there are many other children who remain without help out there.
Due to distance, not all malnourished children come here. Because of the distance, we can't reach out to all of them. It really makes me feel bad.
Nearly 1 in 5 young children in Marsabit County are considered malnourished. Life in the arid region has always been hard, but now Marsabit hasn't seen rain for a whole year. Climate change is said to be partly responsible for that, and it's the children who are suffering.
There is a strong relationship between climate change and the malnutrition, and especially if already there's been malnutrition, then it escalates by increasing the numbers and also the severity.
The frequency and severity of droughts in this region is expected to get worse due to climate change. A disaster for local pastoralists. Their livelihoods depend entirely on their animals. This camel herder tells us he's been looking for water for his camels for 2 days now, in vain. And these women often have to wait a whole day just to get water. Now there's less water flowing out of the tap. And that's a day they cannot spend searching for food. That is, when food is available at all. Selina Musa has hardly anything to feed her son.
It's painful, but I have to accept it. I can't feed him properly to give him what he needs to grow.
The young mother hopes the rains will finally return.
Well, for more, I'm joined now by Lindri Ninteretse, who's been advocating for inclusive transition to renewables, as well as for climate and social justice for more than a decade. Welcome, Lindri. We've just seen a current example of how climate change is already impacting lives in Africa. How bad will the situation get if the world doesn't stop global warming?
Thank you for having me today. The situation is likely to get worse. I mean, the picture we just see in Kenya is pretty much similar in a few other African countries. The example I'll give you is Madagascar in the deep south region, where over 1 million of people is currently also affected by catastrophic drought, which has brought those people to the brink of famine. So for these people, they are basically deprived of their very basic right, which is the right for life, the right to health, food, and of course, security, and I'll say even energy. So this is a situation which is catastrophic, which can even get worse and affect even an increased number of population if there is no action taken at the moment. And this is, the report we've just seen in Kenya, as I said, is pretty much similar to different other contexts, and which again says that this is really a wake-up call as the global leaders are due to meet this weekend for the G20 summit and also Sunday at the COP. So it can't wait.
Yeah, just thinking of the COP26, African negotiators on UN Climate Change Conference COP26 will go there asking for money to help the continent adapt to climate change that the G20 countries have largely caused. How will that money be spent?
So first of all, yes, African negotiation will be there, will be present to ask for the fulfillment of the previous pledges. I think from the last COPs, a lot of pledges, commitment has been made, but I think this is the time to fulfill and to increase those pledges. And also here I want to call on the transparency and the participatory approach in the use of these funds. We'd like to make sure that every single dollar or pound collected or received from these funds really goes to those who are mostly affected. And I would like here to call on to involve closely civil society groups, community representative, and other faith-based organizations that can help a proper decentralization and use in the ensure that those who are really affected by this the crisis receive the attention. So really a very, very strong call for transparency, for accountability, and for involvement and participation of the key actors that are helping to fight this crisis.
Lindri, you raised what has clearly been a problem in the past. Support has been promised and not given. How can developed countries be held more accountable to what they promise?
So I think as a group which is advocating for social justice and climate justice, there have been a good number of scientific evidence that the situation of the moment can't wait. So we are increasing the pressure to the world leaders, whether they are in the UK or the EU or in the US, even China, to make sure that these the previous promises are actually are fulfilled. So there is a massive pressure from civil society movement, the climate movement, and others to make sure that at this time it's no longer about future promises or pledges, but fulfilling those. And there are some encouraging measures that we've seen. However, the level of ambition and action is still pretty high, and we call on these really actors at the moment to fulfill their pledges and not make new empty one or future one, because the situation like the one we saw in Kenya and in Madagascar is such devastating and catastrophic, where millions of people are at the brink of famine and they can't wait for future pledges.
It's a critical moment. It's been great to talk to you. Africa Regional Director of 350.org, Lindri Ninteretse. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Staying with climate now, and world leaders will be heading to Scotland this weekend after the G20 for what many are calling a make-or-break opportunity to take meaningful global action. The COP26 summit is happening in Glasgow, and for activists in the UK, this conference on home turf feels particularly important, and many are finding unique ways to draw attention to the issues. Our correspondent, Charlotte Chelsom-Pill, joined a group near Lockerbie, making their way on foot. And they're not alone.
This may not be the fastest way to Glasgow, or the easiest.
Take care on the wood, the slippy wood.
But it's a journey these activists say is critical.
It's like a sort of crazy mission, but I think the craziness of it is what engages people. People think, that'd be fun, to walk with a bear for a day.
Meet Clarion the polar bear. And walk to COP26.
We're here! It is so exciting!
They're just two of the groups trekking hundreds of kilometres through England and Scotland to the Make or Break Climate Summit. Their journey's the same, but when it comes to their approach, they're taking slightly different paths.
Clarion the bear is not a bear, he is a metaphor. It's not subtle at all. It's a bear, and it's going to the meeting, and it's been carried through the English countryside, so it looks completely out of place, but very photogenic.
Created by artist Bamba Hawes, Clarion's job is to grab attention and send a warning as world leaders gather in Glasgow.
It's lovely that people do wave and cheer and come out of their houses and want photographs taken. So it's a bit like being a celebrity. Like, can I have a selfie with the bear and all that sort of thing? It's good.
Following in Clarion's paw prints are Sam and his team from Walk to COP26. Their 800-kilometre journey is taking them into schools, community meetings and environmental projects like this, Scotland's Tarras Valley Nature Reserve. Their goal is to inspire, engage and share the stories of those fighting climate change.
The young people are absolutely fantastic, great questions. We've been accused of cheating by one, but generally, tremendous challenges and questions. So all of these things are tremendously interesting to us and just actually help us sort of play out what we hope to do, which is to bring people together, drive engagement on climate change and contribute to COP in some small way.
For these activists, there can be no shortcuts. They see COP26 as the moment to take action. And while the road may be long in the fight against climate change, they're determined to keep putting one foot in front of the other.